December 13th, 2016. Reminiscing on a plane to New York City. I'm packed into the middle seat on American Airlines between Howie and a nice man who is headed to New York City. I'm as excited as a schoolgirl on her first trip to the big city today because we are headed to D.C. to meet with our bill sponsor, Walter Jones, and his aide, Maggie, about prepping our bill for an early introduction in 2017. I really thought we could get it done this year, and there is still a slim chance, but Congress is pretty useless after an election in the lame duck session, and especially during the holidays. I'm thrilled beyond words to be attacking the issue again in person. I am really excited to finally have HSUS make this a priority bill. That is what has to happen for any good animal legislation to get passed, and HSUS has only been marginally involved until now. We've made such good headway in getting 95 co-sponsors and twice as many Republicans as last year. My favorite quote by Wayne Pacelle, which was said to me as he, Mike Markarian, and I were walking into a restaurant for lunch: "You can accomplish anything if you don't care who gets credit for it." I don't care who gets credit for ending the trade in exotic cats as pets, props, and parts. I just want it done. Now. Cats are amazing. Their ability to heal themselves and others is beyond compare. Priya Tigress arrived with a 20-pound infection in her uterus horns, and we removed it the next day, but her infection was resistant to the array of antibiotics we tried. Her body was so seeped in the bacteria that her stitches could not hold, and she had to undergo surgery again to seal the wound. Meanwhile, the bacteria was cultured, and we found a better antibiotic for it and began treating. Priya did better, and we thought she was healing because she was no longer seeping from the incision, and her appetite and temperament improved immensely. However, a week before she was to be released back to her earthen-floored enclosure, keepers noticed a pink slit in the stitches. Due to her baggy belly folding on either side of the gap, it was hard to get a photo of it to see the extent. Priya seemed to be getting more and more uncomfortable and began to refuse food unless coaxed extensively. I noticed a change in her sleeping habits. She began to sleep on her back, with her legs splayed wide. It gave me a better opportunity to get a photo of the opening incision, which led our vet team to decide that surgery was again needed to close the wound. What I didn't know at the time was Priya's wisdom in dealing with her own injury. We went into surgery thinking it would be a minor issue of putting in a couple of stitches to close the gap again. But what Dr. Justin Borstein saw made him say that her prognosis of survival was not good. He was clearly distressed when he saw that the tissues had separated to the point that air was seeping into the open layers between her skin and muscle. When he invited me to touch her skin and feel the crackling of it as the air was compressed beneath my touch, I was horrified. I'd never felt anything so foreign to the feel of a sleekly muscled and furred cat. The air, and any impurity in it, was filling her body and making it even harder for the antibiotics to work, making it harder for Priya to call on her own immune system to heal. Then it dawned on me that she was laying on her back to try and force the air back out through the hole in her belly where it had entered. There was no other way out. Standing, sitting, or laying in a normal cat loaf style would not help her express the air that was building up under her skin and causing her so much discomfort. How amazing. Surgery lasted about an hour and a half, and by the end, Dr. Justin Borstein was somewhat more encouraged that she may survive. During the first repair, the week or so after her original surgery, he could reach his arms into the gap up to the elbows. Now he could only reach in up to the wrists. She was healing, but ever so slowly. He also found the tissue to be healthier than he expected, so there is good reason to think that it can bond fully this time. Only time will tell, but thanks to our expert vets, on-site hospital, excellent equipment, and the loving care of the volunteers, Priya has a good chance of living a long, healthy life at Big Cat Rescue. When Gabrielle and Priya arrived from Big Cats of Serenity Springs in November of 2016, both were obese, but their bellies looked particularly distended. When we found that to be a 20-pound hydrometra in Priya, we feared that we would find the same in Gabrielle when she was examined December 12th of 2016. Thankfully, after running blood work, urinalysis, x-rays, and a sonogram that was guided by our remote assistants at Oncura Partners, We discovered that she was just fat and not suffering an infection that required the removal of her uterus. She's going to be 20 next month, so that wasn't a surgery we wanted to do if we could avoid it. Gabrielle was to go back out to her enclosure and only has to recover from the wooziness of sedation and a very unstylish shave of her belly fur. Transport crates are always in short supply when there is a rescue to be done. We are often called upon by other sanctuaries and the drivers of the big rigs who haul the cats from permanent homes to use our tiger transport wagons. We have 3 of them, but one belongs to ADI and has no wheels, so it requires a forklift at both ends of the transaction, which is almost never an option. We have one that has been broken and fixed so many times, we don't think it's safe to use again. We have one that is probably 30 years old or more, that weighs 1,000 pounds, and has also been repaired a number of times. When Gabrielle and Priya both needed to see the vets on the same day, the lack of transport wagons was a big factor. We couldn't bring Priya into the hospital until Gabrielle was well enough to exit the transport wagon into her enclosure. That meant that 3 of the 4 vets had to go back to their places of employment after Gabrielle was done, leaving Dr. Borstein alone to deal with Priya. His day started with Gabrielle at 10 a.m. and went on until well after dark with Priya. If we had 2 transport wagons, we could have eliminated several hours of waiting. Our tiger transporters, Laura and JT of Loving Friends, have worked with Tammy at Wildcat Sanctuary to come up with plans for a transport wagon that they say will cost $5,500, with the caveat that these things never come in on budget. They've had crates built before, but being they were made from aluminum, they were not tiger-proof. These plans are for steel with no milling required, which adds a lot to the cost. I guess we can get one for about $7,000 with whatever modifications end up raising the price. We really need 6, as this is about all that will fit into the hauling rig, but can get by with 2. If you enjoyed these video blogs of my diary, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.